Freeze! Don't adjust your position, don't shift your weight, and don't change anything. Now observe, who is it that notices the discomfort? In this episode, we will break down the stop exercise that Gurdjieff used to awaken his students from their daily mechanical patterns. So listen with complete presence. And if you find these ideas valuable, consider subscribing to this channel for more wisdom audiobooks. The exercise I'm about to teach you contains within it the power to shatter the illusion of your life. Most of you imagine yourselves awake, moving through the day with intention and awareness, but in reality, almost everything you do is mechanical. The stop exercise will reveal within seconds how profoundly you have been deceiving yourselves about this fundamental matter. In the regions where I spent my youth searching for ancient knowledge, I encountered wandering tribes who possessed methods that modern civilization has completely forgotten. These people, descendants of very ancient schools, maintained practices passed down through countless generations. Among these was an exercise so simple in conception, yet so devastating in its revelations, that when I first witnessed it, I understood immediately that I had found something of extraordinary value. The nomadic peoples would be engaged in their daily activities, tending animals, preparing meals, mending equipment, conducting their various tasks, when suddenly, at a signal understood by all, every person would freeze exactly in whatever position they occupied at that instant. A man pouring water would remain with the vessel tilted, liquid suspended midstream. A woman braiding her daughter's hair would hold her hands motionless in the midst of weaving strands together. A child running would balance impossibly on one foot, the other suspended in mid-stride. What struck me most profoundly was the absolute discipline with which they maintained these frozen postures. No one adjusted for comfort. No one made small movements to ease strain. They remained as if carved from stone until the signal released them, and in that artificial stillness, something remarkable occurred within their consciousness. Why does this simple act of stopping produce such powerful effects? Because it breaks the continuous chain of automatic movement and thought that ordinarily controls your entire existence. From the moment you wake until sleep overtakes you again, you are carried along by momentum. Physical momentum of the body responding to habit. Mental momentum of thoughts following well-worn grooves. Emotional momentum of reactions triggered by familiar stimuli. You believe you choose to raise your hand to your face. Yet if you observe, you will see that the hand moves automatically, that the impulse arises from somewhere you cannot identify, that what you call your decision is merely recognition of movement already begun. You think you decide to speak certain words, yet the words emerge from associations formed years ago, from patterns established through repetition, from a machinery that operates entirely without conscious direction. The stop exercise interrupts this machinery in the most direct way possible. When your body freezes mid-movement, the automatic chain is broken. The mind, which has been flowing smoothly along in partnership with bodily movement, suddenly finds itself without its customary support. In that disruption, a space opens, a gap in the continuity of mechanical existence, and in that space, genuine awareness can emerge. What actually happens in your organism when you stop dead in an uncomfortable position? The body sends urgent signals. This hurts. I'm losing balance. I need to adjust. These messages arrive constantly, demanding a response, insisting on your attention. Ordinarily, you would obey these demands automatically, never noticing that obedience itself is mechanical, that you have no choice in the matter. When you refuse to respond, when you remain frozen despite the body's protests, you discover something crucial. There is something in you that can observe these demands without obeying them. The pain is real, the discomfort genuine, yet you remain still. Who is it that holds this position while the body screams for movement? Who observes the discomfort without surrendering to it? This observer, this awareness that can witness sensation without identifying with it, exists in you always. Yet in ordinary life, its voice is drowned out by the constant noise of automatic reactions. You never notice that you have the capacity to observe because you never create conditions where observation becomes necessary. The stop exercise creates precisely these conditions. It forces you to choose between mechanical reaction and conscious witnessing. The Russian physiologist Pavlov discovered what he called conditioned reflexes, the principle that organisms learn to associate certain stimuli with certain responses, and these associations become automatic. I understood this long before his famous experiments with dogs, because I had seen how completely human beings are governed by exactly these conditioned patterns. Your body and mind operate in continuous association. Particular thoughts trigger particular movements, particular postures generate particular thoughts. The entire system runs as a unified mechanism. When you freeze the body, you temporarily break this associative bond. The mind no longer receives its customary feedback from movement. Thought, which has been streaming along supported by physical activity, suddenly finds itself suspended in strange emptiness. In that moment of confusion, there is an opportunity. You can observe the mechanism that ordinarily controls you. You can see how thought and movement cooperate to maintain your sleep. You can glimpse what genuine consciousness might feel like when it is not trapped in mechanical patterns. In my teaching center, I could command stop at any moment, and students were required to freeze instantly wherever they stood, whatever position they occupied. This external command created the shock necessary to interrupt their automatism. During our demonstrations for the public, I deliberately chose moments that would produce maximum difficulty. Calling stop when dancers stood at the edge of the stage, when someone carried a heavy load, when a person was caught mid-stride going upstairs. The dramatic nature of these demonstrations revealed the principle clearly, yet the essential practice can be adapted for your daily life without requiring external commands or extreme circumstances. The key is learning to create voluntary stops, moments when you deliberately freeze your activity and observe yourself exactly as you are. How can you practice this? Begin simply. While walking, stop suddenly mid-stride and hold whatever position you occupy for 30 seconds. Do you teeter on one foot? Do muscles strain to maintain balance? Can you observe these sensations without immediately adjusting? While speaking, freeze mid-sentence with your mouth open in the shape of the word you were pronouncing. What happens to your thought when speech suddenly halts? Can you maintain the awkward position without continuing the sentence or closing your mouth naturally? While eating, stop with the fork halfway to your mouth and hold this position. The arm grows heavy, the posture feels absurd, the urge to complete the movement becomes overwhelming. Yet you remain frozen, watching the cascade of automatic impulses that demand you finish what you began. In washing dishes, stop with hands plunged in water, frozen in the midst of scrubbing a plate. Everything in you wants to continue the familiar rhythm of the task. You observe this wanting without obeying it. The essential requirement is this: you must stop genuinely, not cleverly. Do not wait for a comfortable moment to freeze. Do not position yourself advantageously before stopping. The point is precisely to catch yourself in awkward, unsustainable positions, because these create the friction necessary for consciousness to emerge. Comfort allows you to remain mechanical. Discomfort demands that you pay attention. Physical stopping is merely the beginning. More subtle and perhaps more valuable is learning to stop your mental processes in mid-flow. You are planning tomorrow's activities, constructing elaborate scenarios of how events might unfold, and suddenly you stop this internal narrative completely. The thought stream, which was flowing smoothly along its habitual channels, finds itself interrupted. What remains when thinking stops? You are remembering a past event, replaying conversations, and analyzing what you should have said differently. And suddenly, you deliberately stop this remembering. The memory was carrying you along, generating emotions, producing further associations, yet suddenly you refuse to continue. Who is it that stops? Who observes the stopped memory? You are imagining someone's reaction to your words, building a fantasy of future interaction, and you freeze this imagination exactly where it stands. The fantasy wants desperately to continue. The mechanical part of your mind seeks completion of the story it was telling. Yet you hold it suspended, watching the pressure to resume without yielding. This mental stopping reveals something that physical stopping only hints at: the constant exhausting activity of a mind that never rests, never experiences silence, never simply is without producing endless commentary about being. When you stop thinking mid-thought and hold this interruption, you discover that thoughts are not you, that consciousness can exist without thought, that what you call your mind is actually a machine running automatically. When you practice stop sincerely, a question begins to emerge that changes everything about how you understand yourself. While frozen in an uncomfortable position, while holding an awkward posture that strains muscles and tests endurance, something in you observes all of this. The body suffers, the mind protests. Yet something remains unmoved by either suffering or protest, simply witnessing what occurs. This witnessing presence? What is it? Who is observing the frozen body? Who notices the mind's complaints? When you truly investigate this question, when you turn attention toward the awareness itself rather than toward what awareness observes, you begin to approach the threshold of genuine self-knowledge. Most people, when they first encounter this practice, believe they are observing themselves. They say, "I am watching my body. I am noticing my thoughts." Yet examine this carefully. Who is this I that watches? Can you find it? Where does it exist? What is its nature? The more sincerely you look, the more this assumed observer dissolves under investigation, revealing something far more mysterious than the simple subject-object relationship you imagined. The stop exercise, practiced with intelligence over time, gradually loosens the hypnotic identification with body and thought that keeps you imprisoned in mechanical existence. You begin to experience directly that you are not your body. You are not your thoughts because something witnesses thoughts arising and dissolving. You are not your emotions because something remains aware while emotions flood through your organism. What remains when all identifications are stripped away? This is the real question the stop exercise points toward. I cannot answer it for you. You must discover it through your own experimentation, your own observation, your own sincere investigation of what you actually are beneath all the layers of mechanical habit and automatic reaction. This practice demands more than technical understanding. It requires something that modern people possess in remarkably small quantities: genuine discipline. I do not mean the discipline of forcing yourself to follow rules, though that is necessary at the beginning. I mean the deeper discipline of refusing to lie to yourself, of observing what is actually occurring rather than what you wish to be occurring. You will be tempted to cheat, to stop only in comfortable moments, to make small adjustments that ease strain, to tell yourself you practiced when actually you merely thought about practicing. These deceptions happen automatically, requiring no conscious decision. The mechanical part of you that wants to remain asleep will find 1,000 ways to subvert genuine work. How do you combat this? Through brutal honesty about what you observe. When you notice that you adjusted your position after stopping, acknowledge this fact without judgment or excuse. When you recognize that you chose a convenient moment to freeze rather than a genuinely random one, admit this truthfully. When you realize that hours have passed without remembering to practice, observe this forgetting as direct evidence of how deeply asleep you actually are. The stop exercise is what I call a conscious shock, a deliberate interruption of automatic functioning designed to create conditions where real awareness might emerge. Yet, like all conscious shocks, its power depends entirely on the sincerity with which you apply it. Done mechanically as mere routine, it produces nothing. Done with genuine attention to what is actually happening within your organism, it can crack open the shell of false personality that imprisons your real being. In the schools of ancient times, this exercise was considered sacred. Only the teacher or someone he specifically authorized could command the stop. Students were forbidden to play with it among themselves, to practice it casually, or to treat it as a mere technique. Why such strict protection of a seemingly simple method? Because its power, when properly understood and applied, extends far beyond what appears on the surface. It is a key that can unlock doors most people never even notice exist. The ultimate goal is not to perform stop exercises as separate activities, but to bring the quality of awareness they produce into your continuous existence. This is extremely difficult, perhaps impossible to achieve completely. Yet even partial success transforms your relationship to life in profound ways. Imagine moving through your day with the same divided attention that the stop exercise demands. Part of you engaged in activity, while another part watches this engagement, observes the movements, notices the thoughts, witnesses the reactions. This is what I call self-remembering, being present to your own presence, aware of your own awareness, conscious that I am here doing this in this moment. The stop exercise trains you for self-remembering by creating artificial conditions where division of attention becomes necessary for survival. You must maintain an impossible posture while simultaneously observing the organism's response to impossibility. This forced division, practiced repeatedly, eventually becomes more natural, more accessible in ordinary circumstances where no external crisis demands it. Yet I must warn you, do not imagine that reading these words or understanding the principle intellectually accomplishes anything whatsoever. Knowledge without practice is worse than useless. It gives you the illusion of understanding, while actual understanding remains entirely absent. You must experiment with your own organism, must freeze your own body in mid-movement, must observe your own mechanical reactions, before any of this has meaning beyond pleasant concepts to discuss at dinner parties. Begin now, this very instant. Freeze exactly as you are. Do not adjust. Do not prepare. Simply stop and hold this position for 1 full minute while observing everything that happens within your body, your mind, your awareness. This single minute of genuine practice could contain more teaching than all the books about spiritual development you could read in a lifetime.